Now before I leave this video, I want to point out a couple of things. So our little function machine here had one input and one output, and that worked fine if we were doing a 1D vertical data table. We had an input and an output, and even on the horizontal we had an input and an output. Now when we came around to do the 2D data table, we actually had two inputs and one output. So Madeline's out getting a cat with her mom. I'm going to hit pause on this video and adjust this guy to show what he would look like down here. And now you can see why she's the artist in the family and I'm not. This new modified function machine has two arms to get inputs. So it takes this, let's say it takes an 80 and reaches up there and puts it in the project grade. Then it uses that other input arm to get the 50 and put it in the final grade. And it uses its output arm to reach up here and get the course grade and put it right there at 76. That corresponds with the 80 and the 50. Now I want to add a different type of function machine that has, instead of two input arms and one output arm, let's give it one input arm and two output arms and see what that would look like. And how might we adjust our model to have one input and two outputs? Well, we could say, go back and say our project grade was known, so we'll copy Alt HVST to format that as a known. But then let's come up with a second output, and this would be our strongest area, let's say. And so that'd just be the maximum of the different areas that make up our grade. So 92 was our strongest. And so strongest. I'm going to go ahead and do an Alt HOI here. Point this one at this output, which I guess also needs to be formatted. Alt HJ as an output. I'm going to do a Control Y to repeat, formatting that as an output. And then I want to say, so I need to rebuild this data table because now this little guy is reaching over here, getting the 50, put it in the final course grade, and then he's taking each of these two arms to get the course grade and the strongest area and fill this in. But what you need to do is come in here and select all the colored cells and only the colored cells. Do an Alt AWT, and we have not a row input cell, so I'll hit Tab to get down to a column input cell. If we had been working on this table, it would have been a row input cell. And so when we tell it we want you to put the column input cell with this arm in that final exam, click there and say OK. And it rebuilds our data table, this time with the strongest area. So only if we get a final exam grade of 100 does our strongest area become a 100. That's a pretty ridiculous thing to look at for an output, but it lets you see that you could calculate really as many as you want. You could have as many output arms over here as you want, and you could continue to add outputs out here to the right. Same thing down here, you could continue to add them to the bottom. So let's think about how could this work out. We could have one input with many outputs in both a vertical and a horizontal sense. But what about when we come to the 2D? If we can have at most two inputs, and when we do, we can only have one output. So hit pause, back up that little bit of text, and expect a question like that on the first quiz. Hopefully this video has been helpful. Have a great day.